Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she loaded her toolkit into the back of her pickup truck. The morning sun was already blazing hot in San Diego, and she knew the day ahead would be challenging. As a construction contractor, specializing in wall repairs, she had seen every type of damage imaginable. But today's job was different. She was heading to the Naval Special Warfare Command training facility, where a practice wall used for tactical exercises had suffered significant damage during recent training operations. The call had come in 3 days earlier from Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez. His voice carried the crisp authority she expected from military personnel, but there was something else there too. Urgency mixed with a hint of frustration. The training wall, he explained, was crucial for upcoming SEAL team exercises. It simulated the kind of barrier the teams might encounter in real combat situations, complete with reinforced sections and strategic weak points. Recent training had left it with structural damage that went beyond cosmetic repairs. Sarah had built her reputation on taking jobs others wouldn't touch. At 32, she had 15 years of experience in construction, having started as a teenager working summers with her father's crew. She had worked on everything from residential homes to commercial buildings, but military contracts were relatively new territory for her. The pay was good, the work was steady, and she appreciated the precision and standards the military demanded. As she drove through the base gates, showing her temporary contractor credentials to the security personnel, Sarah felt a familiar mix of nervousness and excitement. She had grown up in a military family. Her brother was a Marine stationed overseas, and her late grandfather had served in Vietnam. The respect for military service ran deep in her family, and she took pride in contributing to their mission, even in her small way. The training facility was more impressive than she had imagined. Sprawling grounds contained obstacle courses, shooting ranges, and various tactical training structures. The damaged wall stood in a large open area, surrounded by evidence of intensive training. Scuff marks on the ground, empty shell casings, glinting in the morning sun, and the lingering smell of gunpowder in the air. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez met her at the site, a tall man in his early 40s with graying temples and the kind of steady gaze that came from years of high-stakes decision-making. He walked her around the wall, pointing out the specific areas that needed attention. The damage was more extensive than she had initially understood from their phone conversation. The wall itself was about 12 feet high and 30 feet long, constructed of reinforced concrete with steel supports. Several sections showed impact, damage from training exercises, and there were stress fractures running through critical support areas. Some damage appeared to be from breaching exercises, while other sections showed wear from repeated climbing and rappelling activities. As Rodriguez explained the repair requirements, Sarah found herself impressed by his technical knowledge. He understood construction principles and could articulate exactly what performance standards the repaired wall would need to meet. The repairs had to be completed within 2 weeks before the next training cycle began. There was no room for delays or substandard work. Sarah spent the rest of the morning taking detailed measurements and photographs, creating a comprehensive assessment of what materials and equipment she would need. The job would require specialized concrete work, steel reinforcement, and careful attention to maintaining the wall's original specifications while strengthening the damaged areas. As she prepared to leave that first day, she noticed a group of trainees in the distance moving through an obstacle course with fluid precision. Their movements were economical and purposeful, speaking to countless hours of practice and an almost supernatural level of physical conditioning. She paused for a moment, watching them work, struck by the dedication required to reach such a level of expertise. Rodriguez noticed her observation and smiled slightly. These men and women, he explained, were among the most elite warriors in the world. Every detail of their training mattered, including the reliability of the equipment and facilities they used. That wall she would be repairing wasn't just concrete and steel. It was a tool that could mean the difference between mission success and failure, between coming home safely and not coming home at all. The weight of that responsibility settled on Sarah as she drove home that evening. She had always taken pride in her work, but this felt different. This wasn't about aesthetics or basic functionality. This was about supporting people who put their lives on the line for their country's security. She spent that evening reviewing her plans and double-checking her material calculations, determined to deliver work that would meet the exacting standards these warriors deserved. The next morning, Sarah arrived early with her first load of materials. The base was already alive with activity. Physical training sessions, classroom instruction, and various drills happening throughout the facility. She established her work area, setting up tools and organizing supplies with the systematic approach that had served her well over the years. As she began the initial demolition work, carefully removing damaged sections while preserving structural integrity, Sarah became aware that her presence had not gone unnoticed. Military personnel passing by would occasionally pause to observe her work, some offering polite nods of acknowledgement. She appreciated their respect for her expertise while maintaining the professional distance appropriate to the environment. The work was physically demanding and technically challenging, requiring both brute strength and delicate precision. Sarah had to remove damaged concrete without compromising the wall's foundation, then prepare the surface for new materials that would bond seamlessly with the existing structure. Each step had to be executed perfectly, as there would be no opportunity for do-overs once the training schedule resumed. By the third day of work, Sarah had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. She arrived each morning before sunrise, taking advantage of the cooler temperatures for the most physically demanding tasks. The concrete cutting and removal work generated significant dust and noise, so she tried to complete those activities before the training schedules began in earnest. It was during one of these early morning sessions that she first encountered Master Chief Petty Officer Marcus Thompson. She was operating a concrete saw, focused intently on following her chalk lines, when she became aware of someone standing at the edge of her work area. When she shut off the saw and looked up, she found herself facing a man who seemed to embody everything she had imagined about Navy SEALs. Thompson was not particularly tall, but his presence filled the space around him. His weathered face showed the kind of lines that came from squinting into sun and wind in distant places, and his eyes held an alertness that suggested he was constantly processing potential threats and opportunities. He wore standard training, fatigues, but they somehow looked different on him, like they were tools rather than just clothing. He introduced himself with a firm handshake and a slight smile, explaining that he would be overseeing some of the training exercises that would resume once her repairs were complete. He had stopped by to assess the progress and ensure that the work would meet their operational requirements. As he examined the areas she had already completed, Sarah found herself unconsciously standing straighter, hoping her craftsmanship would measure up to his standards. Thompson's questions revealed a deep understanding of structural engineering principles. He asked about the load-bearing capacity of her repairs, the expected lifespan of the materials she was using, and how the new sections would perform under extreme stress. His queries weren't challenging her competence, they were the questions of someone who needed to trust his life to the reliability of equipment and facilities. As they talked, Sarah learned more about how the wall would be used in training. SEALs would practice breaching techniques, scaling exercises, and defensive positioning around the structure. The wall had to withstand repeated impacts from various tools and techniques, while also providing realistic resistance that would prepare trainees for real-world scenarios. Thompson explained that in actual operations, SEALs often had to improvise with whatever materials and tools were available. The training wall needed to present similar challenges, sometimes giving way easily, other times requiring significant effort to overcome. The repairs Sarah was making had to preserve this variable resistance, while ensuring the overall structural integrity remained sound. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a training group. Thompson excused himself to oversee their session, but not before asking Sarah if she would mind working around their schedule for the next few hours. She agreed readily, curious to observe the training she had heard so much about. What she witnessed over the next 2 hours changed her understanding of what human beings were capable of achieving. The trainees moved through exercises with a combination of speed, precision, and tactical awareness that seemed almost superhuman. They approached each obstacle as a problem to be solved efficiently, using teamwork and individual skills in seamless coordination. During a break in the training, Thompson approached Sarah again. He had noticed her attention to their exercises, and asked if she had any questions about what she was observing. Sarah admitted that she was amazed by the level of skill and fitness the trainees displayed, but what impressed her most was their mental approach to challenges. Thompson nodded approvingly at her observation. Physical conditioning was important, he explained, but the mental aspect was what truly separated special operations personnel from conventional forces. The ability to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly when exhausted or afraid, and to continue functioning when everything seemed hopeless. These were the qualities that mattered most in the field. As the days passed, Sarah found herself looking forward to her conversations with Thompson and the other personnel she encountered. Each interaction gave her new insight into the world she was supporting through her work. She began to understand that her role, while seemingly small, was part of a much larger system designed to prepare these warriors for missions that most people couldn't even imagine. The work itself was progressing well. Sarah had completed the demolition phase and was beginning the reconstruction process. This required careful attention to mixing ratios for the concrete, proper placement of reinforcement materials, and precise timing for each step of the curing process. The hot San Diego weather actually worked in her favor, accelerating the chemical processes that would give the repairs their required strength. During the second week, an unexpected challenge arose. While removing a section of damaged concrete, Sarah discovered that the original construction had used a different specification than what appeared on the current blueprints. The steel reinforcement pattern was more complex than expected, and some of the embedded anchor points were positioned differently than her plans indicated. Rather than proceeding with assumptions, Sarah immediately contacted Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez to report her findings. Within an hour, Thompson arrived with several other personnel to assess the situation. What followed was a detailed discussion about how to proceed, weighing the options of modifying the repair plan versus seeking approval for changes to the original specifications. The group's approach to problem-solving impressed Sarah greatly. They considered multiple options, evaluated potential risks and benefits, and reached a consensus decision quickly, but thoroughly. It was clear that this methodical approach to unexpected challenges was ingrained in their training and culture. The decision was made to modify the repair plan to work with the existing reinforcement while still meeting all performance requirements. This would require Sarah to source some additional materials and adjust her timeline slightly, but it would preserve the wall's original design intent while ensuring optimal strength in the repaired sections. As Sarah implemented the modified plan, she found herself thinking about the parallels between her work and the training she had observed. Both required adaptability, attention to detail, and the ability to perform under pressure. Both demanded that individuals take personal responsibility for outcomes that would affect others. The scale and stakes were different, but the fundamental principles seemed remarkably similar. The morning of the 10th day brought an unexpected interruption to Sarah's carefully planned schedule. She had arrived at dawn as usual, preparing to begin the final phase of concrete work, when Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez approached with an unusual request. A high-ranking delegation from Naval Special Warfare Command Headquarters was arriving for an unscheduled inspection of the training facilities, and they specifically wanted to observe live exercises. The challenge was that the original training schedule had been built around Sarah's repair timeline. The wall repairs were supposed to be complete before any major exercises resumed, but the delegation's visit couldn't be postponed. Rodriguez explained that they needed to conduct a modified training session that afternoon, using the portions of the wall that were already repaired while carefully avoiding the areas still under construction. Sarah quickly assessed the situation. About 70% of her repairs were complete and had cured sufficiently to handle normal training loads. The remaining sections were in various stages of completion, some waiting for final concrete pours, others still curing. She could potentially adjust her schedule to accommodate the training, but it would require careful coordination and some creative problem-solving. Thompson arrived shortly after Rodriguez to discuss the logistics. The training exercise would involve a squad of advanced trainees demonstrating breaching and assault techniques for the visiting officials. They needed to use the wall in ways that would showcase realistic tactical scenarios, while avoiding any risk to the incomplete sections. As they walked through the possibilities, Sarah found herself contributing ideas based on her understanding of the wall's current condition. She could redirect her work to focus on completing one specific section that would provide the best demonstration area, while temporarily reinforcing some transition zones to ensure safety margins were maintained. The collaborative planning session revealed something interesting about military culture that Sarah hadn't fully appreciated before. Despite the rigid hierarchy she associated with military organizations, when technical problems needed solving, input was welcomed from anyone with relevant expertise, regardless of rank or position. Her suggestions about structural loads and material properties were given the same consideration as tactical recommendations from seasoned operators. With the plan established, Sarah shifted into an accelerated work mode. She had about 6 hours to complete tasks that would normally take 2 days, but the challenge energized rather than intimidated her. This was the kind of pressure situation where her experience and skills would be put to their ultimate test. The first priority was completing the concrete work on the primary demonstration section. This required perfect timing, mixing batches of concrete in precise quantities, placing them exactly where needed, and ensuring proper consolidation and finishing before the material began to set. Sarah worked with focused intensity, aware that dozens of people were counting on her to deliver exactly what she had promised. Thompson checked on her progress periodically, offering assistance when needed and updating her on the evolving timeline for the afternoon exercises. During one of these conversations, he mentioned something that surprised Sarah. Several of the other personnel had commented positively on her work ethic and technical competence. Word had apparently spread through the command that the contractor working on the wall was someone who understood both the technical requirements and the mission importance of what she was doing. By early afternoon, Sarah had achieved what seemed impossible that morning. The designated section of wall was ready for use, with temporary barriers clearly marking the areas that remained off limits. She had even managed to clean up her work area and secure her equipment so that the training exercise could proceed without any safety concerns. As she prepared to take a break and observe the demonstration from a safe distance, Thompson approached with an unexpected invitation. The commanding officers conducting the inspection wanted to meet her and hear about the repair project directly. They were interested in understanding how contractor support contributed to maintaining training capabilities, and her project was being highlighted as an example of effective civilian-military cooperation. The meeting was brief but memorable. Sarah found herself explaining technical aspects of the repairs to a group of senior officers whose collective experience spanned decades of special operations around the world. They asked intelligent questions about materials, methods, and timeline, demonstrating the same attention to detail and understanding her work that she had observed in their approach to training. What struck Sarah most was their genuine appreciation for her contribution. These were people accustomed to operating in environments where every detail mattered, where small failures could have catastrophic consequences. They understood that her work, while seemingly routine, was actually a critical link in a chain that extended to operational readiness and mission success. The afternoon training exercise was spectacular to observe. The trainees moved through scenarios with fluid precision, demonstrating techniques that Sarah now understood required not just physical skill, but also deep tactical knowledge and split-second decision-making. The repaired sections of wall performed flawlessly, withstanding the various stresses imposed by the training without showing any signs of weakness or failure. During the exercise, something unexpected happened that would change everything. One of the trainees, while executing a climbing maneuver, noticed something that others had missed. A section of the original wall structure, not part of Sarah's repair area, was showing signs of potential failure. Stress cracks that hadn't been visible during the initial assessment were now apparent under the dynamic loading of the exercise. Thompson immediately halted the training and called for an engineering assessment. The discovery was significant. If the weakness had gone undetected and caused a failure during actual training, it could have resulted in serious injury. The trainer's observation had potentially prevented a catastrophic incident. As the group examined the newly discovered problem, Sarah realized that her repair project had inadvertently revealed a larger structural issue. By modifying loads and stresses in the repaired sections, she had changed how forces were distributed throughout the entire wall system. Areas that had previously been stable were now experiencing different stress patterns that exposed hidden weaknesses. The situation required immediate attention, but it also presented an opportunity. Sarah's repair work had demonstrated both her technical capability and her understanding of the facility's operational requirements. Thompson and Rodriguez began discussing the possibility of expanding her contract to address the newly discovered issues. As the delegation concluded their visit, Sarah found herself in an unexpected position. What had begun as a straightforward repair job had evolved into something much more significant, an opportunity to contribute to a comprehensive upgrade of critical training infrastructure that would benefit countless future warriors. The expanded project meant Sarah would be spending several more weeks at the naval facility, but it also meant working under significantly different circumstances. The newly discovered structural issues required a more comprehensive approach than simple repairs. She would need to redesign portions of the wall system while maintaining compatibility with existing training protocols and safety requirements. Thompson had been assigned as her primary liaison for the extended project, AIEI, development that pleased Sarah more than she initially expected. His technical knowledge and understanding of operational requirements made him an ideal collaborator, and his calm demeanor helped her navigate the complex approval processes required for modifications to military infrastructure. Their working relationship had evolved beyond simple contractor oversight. Thompson began consulting Sarah on broader facility improvements, seeking her input on how various modifications might affect structural integrity and long-term maintenance requirements. These conversations revealed the depth of his strategic thinking and his genuine concern for the safety and effectiveness of the people he trained. The new work required Sarah to spend time observing different types of training exercises to understand how the wall modifications would impact various tactical scenarios. Thompson arranged for her to observe advanced breaching exercises, climbing and rappelling sessions, and defensive positioning drills. Each observation session provided insights that influenced her engineering decisions. During one particularly intense training session, Sarah witnessed something that profoundly affected her perspective on her work. A trainee attempting a difficult climbing sequence lost his grip and fell from a significant height. The safety equipment functioned perfectly, preventing serious injury, but the incident highlighted how unforgiving the training environment could be. Every structural element these warriors interacted with had to be absolutely reliable, because their lives literally depended on it. Thompson used the incident as a teaching moment, both for the trainees and for Sarah. He explained how special operations personnel had to maintain the ability to function effectively, even when equipment failed or unexpected situations arose. The training had to be challenging enough to prepare them for worst-case scenarios, but safe enough to allow them to learn from mistakes without career-ending injuries. As Sarah incorporated these lessons into her design work, she found herself developing a deeper appreciation for the complexity of military training. It wasn't enough to simply build structures that met basic engineering requirements. Every element had to support specific learning objectives while providing appropriate levels of challenge and safety. The technical challenges of the expanded project pushed Sarah to research new materials and construction techniques. She consulted with structural engineers at several universities and reached out to other contractors who had worked on specialized military facilities. The knowledge she gained enhanced not only the current project, but also her overall capabilities as a construction professional. Thompson often worked alongside Sarah during the construction phases, learning about her techniques and sharing insights about how different modifications would affect training outcomes. His willingness to get his hands dirty and contribute physical labor impressed Sarah, especially considering his rank and responsibilities. It demonstrated a leadership style based on shared effort rather than simple authority. Their collaboration attracted attention from other personnel at the facility. Sarah began receiving informal visits from trainees and instructors who were curious about the modifications being made to their training environment. These conversations provided additional perspectives on how the changes might impact different aspects of training and helped Sarah fine-tune her approach. One afternoon, while working on a particularly complex section that required precise coordination between structural elements, Sarah and Thompson found themselves discussing the parallels between their respective professions. Both required extensive technical training, the ability to perform under pressure, and absolute commitment to excellence. Both involved taking personal responsibility for outcomes that would affect other people's safety and success. Thompson shared some of his experiences from operational deployments, describing situations where seemingly minor equipment failures or structural weaknesses had created major tactical challenges. These stories reinforced Sarah's understanding that her work was about much more than construction standards. It was about providing reliable tools that warriors could trust with their lives. The conversation also revealed Thompson's post-military plans. He was nearing retirement after 22 years of service and was considering transitioning to civilian work that would allow him to continue supporting military missions. He had developed an interest in the technical aspects of facility design and was exploring opportunities in defense contracting. Sarah found herself encouraging his interest and sharing information about the civilian side of military support work. She described the satisfaction of contributing to national security through technical expertise and the opportunities available for veterans who understood both military requirements and civilian business practices. As the project progressed, Sarah began to notice changes in how other personnel at the facility interacted with her. What had started as polite professional courtesy had evolved into genuine respect and inclusion. She was invited to observe specialized training sessions, consulted on other facility improvement ideas, and included in informal discussions about operational challenges. The breakthrough moment came during a complex concrete pour that required perfect timing and coordination. Sarah was managing multiple crews and processes simultaneously when an unexpected equipment failure threatened to ruin hours of preparation. Thompson immediately stepped in to coordinate an alternative approach, utilizing personnel and resources from his training unit to salvage the situation. The successful completion of that challenging pour marked a turning point in their professional relationship. They had proven they could work together effectively under pressure, combining their different areas of expertise to achieve results that neither could have accomplished alone. The experience also demonstrated to the broader facility community that civilian contractors could be genuine partners rather than just service providers. Word of their successful collaboration reached higher levels of command, generating interest in expanding the partnership approach to other facility improvement projects. Sarah found herself being consulted on broader infrastructure planning and included in discussions about long-term facility development strategies. 3 weeks into the expanded project, an urgent situation arose that would test everything Sarah and Thompson had learned about working together. Intelligence reports indicated that a high-priority training exercise needed to be moved up by several weeks, requiring immediate use of the modified wall system before all planned improvements were complete. The challenge was complicated by the specific requirements of the accelerated training. The exercise involved techniques that would place unusual stresses on the wall structure, stresses that the original design had never been intended to handle. Sarah's modifications had strengthened the overall system, but some sections were still in progress and not ready for the extreme loads that would be imposed. Thompson brought Sarah into the emergency planning sessions where military personnel were developing alternative scenarios. The original exercise plan called for explosive breaching techniques that would require the wall to withstand significant blast forces. Sarah's immediate assessment was that the current state of construction couldn't safely handle those requirements. The discussion that followed revealed the critical nature of the training being requested. A specialized unit was preparing for a deployment that would require them to operate in environments with specific types of fortified structures. The wall at the naval facility was one of only a few training sites that could provide realistic preparation for the challenges they would face. Sarah found herself in an impossible position. Her professional judgment said the wall wasn't ready for the proposed exercise, but she also understood that inadequate training could put lives at risk in actual operations. Thompson supported her technical assessment while simultaneously working with other military personnel to explore alternative approaches. The breakthrough came when Sarah proposed a creative solution. Instead of trying to accelerate the construction timeline to meet the exercise requirements, they could modify the exercise to work within the current structural limitations while still providing valuable training. This would require redesigning some of the scenarios and accepting different learning outcomes, but it would allow the training to proceed safely. The proposal required Sarah to work directly with exercise planners to understand exactly what training objectives needed to be achieved. She spent long hours reviewing tactical scenarios, learning about the specific skills and experiences the trainees needed to develop, and identifying ways that modified exercises could still deliver the essential learning. Thompson served as both technical advisor and cultural translator during these planning sessions. He helped Sarah understand military terminology and operational concepts while explaining her engineering concerns in terms that tactical planners could readily grasp. Their collaboration ensured that both safety requirements and training objectives were properly considered. The modified exercise plan they developed was innovative and comprehensive. By adjusting the types of charges used, the placement of explosive devices, and the sequence of operations, they created scenarios that would provide realistic training while staying within the structural capabilities of the partially completed wall system. The solution required Sarah to complete specific sections of her construction work on an accelerated timeline, while temporarily reinforcing other areas to handle the modified loads. This meant working extended hours and coordinating with multiple suppliers to expedite material deliveries, but it was achievable within the required timeframe. As the exercise date approached, Sarah worked alongside military personnel to prepare the facility. She found herself functioning almost as a member of the team, contributing technical expertise while learning about tactical concepts she had never encountered before. The integration of civilian and military perspectives was producing results that exceeded what either group could have achieved independently. The day of the exercise brought unexpected challenges. Weather conditions created complications that required real-time modifications to both the tactical scenarios and the structural preparations. Sarah worked with exercise controllers to adjust safety margins and modify procedures based on changing conditions. During the exercise itself, Sarah observed from a command post where she could monitor structural performance while staying in communication with exercise leaders. What she witnessed was extraordinary. Highly trained professionals adapting to unexpected conditions while maintaining safety standards and achieving training objectives under pressure. The exercise was a complete success, demonstrating both the effectiveness of the modified scenarios and the reliability of Sarah's construction work. More importantly, it proved that civilian-military partnerships could produce innovative solutions to complex challenges when based on mutual respect and shared commitment to mission success. Following the exercise, Sarah received recognition from multiple levels of command for her contribution to the successful outcome. The recognition wasn't just for her technical work, but for her willingness to adapt her approach based on operational requirements and her commitment to supporting the mission even when it required going beyond normal contractor responsibilities. Thompson's role in facilitating the successful collaboration was also recognized by his superiors. His ability to bridge civilian and military perspectives while maintaining operational effectiveness was identified as a valuable leadership capability that could be applied to other cross-functional projects. The success of the exercise led to discussions about formalizing the collaborative approach they had developed. Sarah was invited to participate in planning sessions for future facility improvements, and Thompson was asked to develop guidelines for effective civilian-military partnerships on technical projects. As Sarah reflected on the experience, she realized that her original repair job had evolved into something much more significant. She had not only contributed her technical skills to supporting military training, but had also learned valuable lessons about leadership, teamwork, and adaptability under pressure. The experience had changed her perspective on both her professional capabilities and her role in supporting national security. The final phase of the wall project took place against a backdrop of significant changes for both Sarah and Thompson. The success of their collaboration had generated interest from other military installations facing similar infrastructure challenges, and Sarah found herself being considered for a much larger contract that would involve multiple facilities across different branches of service. Thompson's retirement date was approaching, but his commanders had offered him the opportunity to transition into a civilian position that would allow him to continue contributing his expertise to military training programs. The position would involve working with contractors like Sarah to ensure that facility improvements effectively supported operational requirements. As they worked together to complete the final details of the wall modifications, both Sarah and Thompson were processing the implications of these potential changes. Their professional partnership had evolved into a genuine friendship based on mutual respect and shared experiences, and they were exploring ways to continue working together. In the future, the wall itself had become something remarkable during the months of construction and modification. What had started as a simple repair project had transformed into a comprehensive training facility that incorporated innovative design features and advanced materials. The structure could now support a wider variety of exercises while providing enhanced safety features and improved durability. Sarah had documented every aspect of the construction process, creating a comprehensive guide that could be used for similar projects at other facilities. The documentation included not only technical specifications and construction procedures, but also lessons learned about coordinating civilian contractor work with ongoing military operations. Thompson had contributed his own documentation focusing on the operational aspects of the project. His reports described how different design features supported specific training objectives and provided recommendations for optimizing contractor-military partnerships on future infrastructure projects. During the final weeks of construction, Sarah and Thompson were asked to present their collaborative approach to a group of senior officers from multiple commands. The presentation covered both the technical achievements of the wall project and the partnership methodologies that had made the success possible. The presentation was well received, leading to requests for Sarah and Thompson to serve as consultants on similar projects at other installations. The military had recognized that their collaborative approach could be a model for improving contractor integration across a wide range of infrastructure and facility improvement initiatives. As the wall project neared completion, Sarah began work on her proposal for the larger multi-facility contract. Thompson provided input on operational requirements and helped her understand the unique challenges associated with different types of military installations. His insights were invaluable in developing an approach that could be adapted to various operational contexts. The formal completion ceremony for the wall project brought together personnel from throughout the naval facility. Sarah was recognized, not just for her technical achievements, but for her commitment to understanding and supporting the facility's mission. The recognition included commendations from facility commanders and expressions of appreciation from trainees who would benefit from the improved training capabilities. Thompson's retirement ceremony took place the following week, marking the end of his military career and the beginning of his transition to civilian support work. Sarah attended the ceremony, witnessing the genuine respect and affection his colleagues had for his service and leadership. The ceremony also included the announcement of his new position, which would involve overseeing contractor relationships for facility improvement projects. In the weeks following the completion of the wall project, Sarah reflected on how much the experience had changed her professional perspective. She had entered the project with strong technical skills and a commitment to quality work, but had learned valuable lessons about leadership, adaptability, and the importance of understanding client needs that went beyond simple technical requirements. The project had also opened doors to opportunities she could never have imagined. When she first received the call about repairing a damaged wall, the larger contract she was pursuing would allow her to contribute to military readiness at a much broader scale, while working with Thompson and others who shared her commitment to excellence and mission support. Thompson's transition to civilian work was proceeding smoothly, with his military experience providing valuable insights that enhanced contractor oversight and project management. His first major assignment involved working with Sarah on the expanded multi-facility contract, ensuring continuity of the collaborative approach they had developed. The wall itself had become a symbol of successful civilian-military partnership, Personnel at the facility often pointed it out to visitors as an example of how contractor support could enhance mission capabilities when based on mutual understanding and shared commitment to excellence. The structure continued to perform flawlessly, supporting training exercises that prepared warriors for the challenges they would face in actual operations. Sarah's business had grown significantly as a result of the recognition she received from the Naval Facility project. She had hired additional employees and expanded her capabilities to handle more complex military contracts, but she maintained the same commitment to quality and mission understanding that had characterized her work on the Wall project. The partnership between Sarah and Thompson had evolved into a formal business relationship, with Thompson joining her company as a director of military liaison services. Their combined expertise in technical construction and operational requirements provided a unique capability that distinguished their work from other contractors in the field. Looking back on the experience, both Sarah and Thompson recognized that what had begun as a routine repair project had become a transformative experience that changed their professional lives and created opportunities to contribute to national security in ways they had never anticipated. The wall they had built together stood as testament to what could be achieved when civilian expertise and military dedication worked in true partnership toward shared objectives.